Hello and welcome to FPL Natty. This is the video where I talk about the players I feel you should be looking at for game week number 14. Game week number 13 for me is done and I'm so glad it's over. It wasn't the best game week for me. I unfortunately got a red arrow. You'll see that on the next screen. I think there were some differentials that really got me. Castagna, Zuma, who else? Mitrovic. My bench had about 25 players on it, 25 points on it, with Ward, Pereira, who else I had on there? Nico Williams as well. Yeah, it just was a bad one. But anyways, that is behind me. Game week 14 is going to be so much better. But there are some players that I feel that you should be looking at going forwards because they had such a good game week and they look like they could be some excellent buys or top of your watch list going forward. So let's have a look and see who those players are. But before you do that, make sure you subscribe. Just click that big red button down below. If you haven't already, subscribe to my mini league. It's like in the description box below, so you can just join it. It's like an auto join link, so just press it and you can just join it right now at Game Week 14. You can literally just join it straight away. Yeah, so give this video a thumbs up, write in the comments what points you got for game week number 13, and let's see what players you should be looking at for game week number 14. First things first, I think you should definitely be staying away from Liverpool players. After how they've been playing, particularly that loss against Nottingham Forest, losing 1-0 after they've beaten City as well. You can't trust them. They are so unpredictable and unreliable and definitely inconsistent. I know they have injuries at the minute with Nunes, Thiago, Jota, Keita, Diaz. And that is really affecting their creativity at the moment. You've only got Salah and Firmino, really, that are the key players up in the final third. I think they're mixed up with Curtis Jones and Elliott, and yeah, just everywhere else around the pitch just looks so lackluster. And up next they have Leeds, Tottenham and Southampton as well. But quite frankly, I just don't think they have enough depth. You need to stay away from them, in my opinion. I don't feel like Salah at his price point is going to give you enough with the tinkering that you're going to have to do with your team, and there's no other Liverpool players that you're going to want. Some might say go for Alisson, but the defence is shocking. You might go for Trent. Again, he's not really producing any returns and the defence is shocking as well. So for me, I will say stay away from Liverpool players, but get City players. It's just a no-brainer. If you haven't already, I will try to aim for 3 City players. They won 3-1 against Brighton at the weekend. I think that was at the Etihad. Up next they got Leicester away, Fulham and Brentford as well. They are looking so strong. In terms of the people I have in my team, Cancelo, he is such a fantastic passer of the ball and he didn't get any returns from me this game week. Unfortunately, it was Trossard that destroyed a clean sheet. But what you need to be worried about is what happened in Champions League on Tuesday. And Pep Guardiola said that Cancelo, he came off at halftime, he said that he's got the flu. He's been playing a lot of games, so he might be rested at the weekend, but it's unlikely as at the minute there isn't many players that can play in this position, and they already have quite a few injuries already. Walker, Stones, I think Laporte is still out, Diaz still needs to come back as well. So yeah, they're really struggling a bit in terms of first team players, so just bear that in mind with Cancelo, but he's staying in my squad anyways. City assets are just too good at the moment. I've got Foden. He came on in like the 62nd minute at the weekend, which was unfortunate. So you might want to look at Pep Roulette on that situation, but he could just have his minutes managed a little bit. Mahrez did do a good job. And also Foden nearly got an assist for, I think for Haaland, I believe it was. But you have to look at and see whether or not his minutes will still be managed. I'm not sure about that one. There's one player that I was thinking about, and that was Kevin De Bruyne. Is he worth bringing it into my squad? He cost a lot of money, and I would have to move, particularly with same like the Salah situation. You have to move around so many players to bring in Kevin De Bruyne, but he's such a legend and probably one of the Premiership's ever greatest midfielders. But he, as I said, he's rather expensive, but you do know he's going to give you some assist or a goal very, very quick over the game weeks. So I might look at him possibly during the World Cup if I'm tinkering about with my team for the next period of games up until Christmas. I don't know. I'll have to see about that one. One person who's not leaving is Erling Haaland. You can see him right there. What an absolute superstar. Should have had 2 penalties, but he did put away the 1 penalty that he got. He almost broke the net, basically. He showed his strength against Webster, who I had on the bench, I believe. Webster was on my bench. Yeah, he just put him on his butt, really. So Haaland now has 117 points. I don't know why it says 1 goal and 3 assists. That is completely wrong. I think it's 15 goals. I think I missed a 5. It's like, yeah, he's got 15 goals, 3 assists. And in the Champions League game they played on Tuesday, this is something you have to be concerned about. I'm a little bit concerned about it, and it probably might show up as a yellow flag on FPL soon. Pep said that he was injured. He got a knock on his foot. He also said that he's got the flu and that he was tired. So that might mean he misses the game away against Leicester so that he can come back for the home games for Fulham and for Brentford. I don't know. He only played 45 minutes in the Champions League game against Dortmund. So you're going to have to really watch that one to see how it's going to work out. Now, let's talk about Everton and Crystal Palace. Everton beat Palace 3-0, and that was literally destroyed my defender, Mark Gui, who almost got a red, to be honest. It should have got a red. His tackle was so bad against DCL. And Palace, to be honest, I've only had 2 clean sheets all season, so I'm not sure whether I might move Mark Gui out for maybe Dalot, who's like at the same price and is in a much better team, or I might move it to an Everton defender. I've got Connor Cody, who's only costs 4.9 million, and there's Tarkowski as well, who only costs 4.4 million. They are differentials and they've got good fixtures. They've got Fulham, Leicester and Bournemouth up next, whereas Palace do have what looks like on paper better fixtures, but the defense is just so bad. They're just not keeping any clean sheets at all. So I might look to move them on for Everton, who have Fulham. Have I just said this? Yeah, Fulham who got move it on to Everton, who've got Fulham, Leicester and Bournemouth. So I'm still undecided about what I'm going to do about that one. But just in general, Palace are looking, they're not looking terrible, but there's so many forward players that they have that are kind of just leveling in the same way. You've got Edouard, Ayo, Eze, Elise, Zaha. That's like 5 that you have in that top area of the 4 positions. Obviously the defenders are just leaking goals, so I might get rid of Zaha because it is like a lottery on whether or not he's going to score, and because they're not so high up in the pitch, he doesn't really get pens that much, and he loves getting the yellow card. He got another yellow card in this game. I think he was trying to fight Pickford, and then later on he was trying to fight some other Everton players. Yeah, he just likes to fight too much, so I might have to look to move him on. He's only got 2 returns in 6. That isn't good enough for me. I need players that are actually going to turn it on straight away, and I might have to then now look at maybe Maddison or an Almiron. You know, we can talk about these players in a bit, but or maybe even Gordon. Gordon scored. He's going to be cheaper. Everton fixtures are good, as I've mentioned already. So I don't know, I might be looking to shift my Palace players and maybe bring in Everton players, because I think they have turned a corner in their FPL season. DCL scored as well. Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored as well. I won't get him in just yet. He scored his first goal of the season, but let's see what he does going forwards. In regards to these 2 teams, United and Chelsea, these are the only 2 players I want, Dalot and Kepa. So if we're talking about Dalot, he's only got a 10% ownership right now. He has good fixtures. The next 6 games only have a fixture difficulty rating of 2. They are West Ham, Aston Villa, Fulham, Forest, Wolves and Bournemouth. So those are great games that United have at the minute. The only problem I have with getting Dalot is the amount of minutes he has played for Man United so far. He's literally played every single game because they don't have any cover on right back. Wan-Bissaka is not in any way, shape or form in contention of getting into the team. Brandon Williams, definitely not. Who else might play there? Lindelof might be able to play there, but again, he won't really be pushing up like how Dalot does. So I'll have to really see about that. Week actually was that Real Madrid are interested in signing Diego Dalot as a right back for their team. So this might hopefully make him play better, because he knows that there are teams that are looking at him as well. But just in general, I am slightly concerned that he is an injury away from being out long term, or just fatigue in general, because he's just playing so many games. However, he is on my watch list, so I will still have him with 4 clean sheets, 1 assist so far this season. Only cost 4.6 million. It kind of is a good idea to have him in. Also Kepa as well, 4.5 million for a Chelsea keeper. That is so good. He's had a #1 jersey for 5 weeks now and had 3 clean sheets in that time. And the game against United that they have was the first time that he's conceded in like 6 games. And I feel he's one of the best goalkeepers you can have right now in FPL. Be a little bit worried about the fixtures that he has coming up. He's got Brighton, Arsenal and Newcastle coming up. So we've seen, particularly United game, that they can be got at. Chelsea were a bit lackluster in that game. The defence was pressed so well by United, so just bear that in mind when looking at Kepa. But he does cost such a cheap price, so will I make the switch between him and Raya? I'm still unsure, but Kepa is definitely on my watch list. Also, we have here Spurs. They are not good. Okay, let's just put that out there. Spurs are not good. Now, it's crazy how that is, because at the start of the season, they were looking like it was going to be a really good season for them. And yes, they are still in that top 5 area or whatever, but they seem to be drifting off just a little bit. That's 2 losses in a row, and the lack of depth in their team is really showing, just at the loss of 2 of their major players, and that is Kulusevski and Richarlison. I know there was a defender that they lost as well. I can't remember his name as well. But just in general, that team is not looking so good, particularly in the final 3. You got Harry Kane, who's there literally a one-man band for Spurs right now, controlling the midfield, dropping so deep to ping balls forward. But to who? Who's he pinging balls forward to? Usually the fullbacks that are bombing on. Okay, and those fullbacks could be Doherty, or you've got Perisic. I'm not looking at any of those, to be honest. Yeah, Perisic has not really done it for me. You've got Sessegnon, Emerson Royale, Sanchez, a little bit lackluster for me, and I'm worried about how Spurs this season is going to turn out. There are no other players I'm looking at. Son is way too expensive. Harry Kane has been scoring lots of goals and assists over this period of time, carrying Spurs to the point where they are right now. He scored again at the weekend, even though they did lose to Newcastle, and I'm going to keep him in my squad for now. He is differential. That is the main reason why I'm keeping him. And if I was going to lose him, who am I going to replace him with at the same quality? I already have Haaland, so it will mean I have 2 kind of medium price forwards, and I'm not really interested in that, so I'm going to keep Kane for now, but we'll see how it goes with his fixtures coming up. Now let's go straight and talk about Newcastle, who are looking absolutely fantastic. I have Trippier in my squad, and even though the clean sheet didn't happen for him, he produced another strong defensive display, and there's a rock at the back with Sean and Burr by his side as well. I've also got Callum Wilson, who I'm unsure about. I really am. Even though he did score a goal, a composed finish. I think it was a mix-up with Lloris coming out, thinking it was a foul, and then Wilson chipped him into the empty net. So he got a goal for me, but will I keep him going forwards? I don't know. I think Mitrovic is a better option, possibly in the short term, even though they have City coming up after their next game. I'm still not sold on Wilson just yet, but do I want to take him out for a sideways move for Mitrovic? Again, not really, because the fixtures that Newcastle have are quite decent. One player I will be looking at most definitely, and is right up there on my list, is Almiron. 5 goals in 5 games. He is absolutely on fire. I think I've got space for him for either Zaha or Jared Bowen, who I feel needs to leave my team. Those two, as I said before about Zaha, he isn't doing enough. And Bowen as well at 8.1 or something. Yeah, I can get someone cheaper. Almiron, who is a differential. His price is going to go up, as we know, but he started off cheap anyways. And every game week, I think he's not going to do something. And look what he does. He bangs 5 goals in 5 games. Newcastle have their star. Now, if we're talking about Fulham, I was talking about Mitrovic just a minute ago. He scored for the 3rd game in a row. And as I said, I might swap him for Callum Wilson at Newcastle. I think it might make sense to me possibly after the City game that Fulham have, so that's in about 2 game weeks time, or even during that kind of World Cup period, I might look to tinker and change my team just a little bit to see where I go with that. Also, Andreas Pereira, 4.6 million, owned by a quarter of all FPL managers. He is doing absolutely fantastic. Let me give you some stats for him. He's got 1 goal and 5 assists, 24 points over the last 4 games. Every 47 minutes, so basically every half, he gets a shot on goal and he gets a key pass every 28 minutes. He has looked so good in that Fulham team. I know most of us have kept him on the bench, particularly the last game week they had where they beat Leeds 3-2, and that game was so good. And I think that Jesse Marsch will be sacked very soon, if not before the World Cup, before Christmas. He's definitely going. He's got about 2 game weeks left in him, and yeah, I think they're gonna get rid, because Leeds are not looking to go down because they're a big club apparently. But yeah, Andreas Pereira, I will be looking to move him back in my squad. They have Everton. Do they have Everton next? Yeah, they do. They got Everton next, followed by City, as I said, then Man United, a bit difficult, and then Crystal Palace. But for the Everton game, I'm going to bring him in and see what he does there. I'll probably bench him for the City game and the United game, and I'll bring him back in for the Crystal Palace game, most definitely. Everton are poor away from home, and that's who Fulham have next. So I'm hoping that both him and Mitrovic actually not Mitrovic, because I don't have him, but Pereira definitely. I hope he does something mad. He does. It's cause like hat-trick or something. That'll be amazing. Oh my gosh, who are these guys? I don't understand how Villa were playing so different under Steven Gerrard, and now they're playing different under this caretaker manager. Okay, they thrashed Brentford 4-0. 4-0. They completely destroyed them. I was like, I don't know who this team is. I just didn't understand what's going on. And of course, I had my keeper in goal, which is Raya. He picked the ball out of his net 4 times. I think 3 times in the first half. So the game was already done by like half time. However, Raya was still getting those save points. So he's staying in my team for now. As I said, I'm conflicted about changing him out for Kepa, but he has decent fixtures coming up. Wolves, Forest, and then Manchester City after that. Technically, he can get save points in all of those games, and hopefully clean sheets in the first 2. Brentford in particular have conceded 15 goals away from home. They are not good away from home. So if you now I know this, because I should have looked this before, but now I know I will look to probably switch it out once Brentford are away from home, until they get their fixtures sorted out. But let's talk about Villa. Leon Bailey was the star of that game. 4.6 million. As you guys know, I've spoken about it so many times. I've had him in my team. I've had him out my team, in my team, out team. I literally took him out maybe 2 game weeks ago because he had a yellow flag, or he was injured. It was meant to have a long-term injury. Then he literally came in for like 15 minutes and almost scored a goal. And then this game, he scored and assisted, and also created like another big chance later on in the game. I will not be bringing him back in my squad anytime soon, purely because of the fixtures. He's got Newcastle, Man United, and then Brighton. I don't see them doing much over those next 3 games before the World Cup. Yes, they've got a new manager who's coming, I think the 1st or 10th of November, I can't remember. It's going to be Unai Emery, the former Arsenal manager. He is coming back to the Premier League. I'm excited to see him. Good evening. So yeah, I'm excited to see him back in the Premier League. But in terms of Bailey, even Ings, who else they got? Maybe Douglas Luiz, maybe some of their defenders. It's a possibility, but I wanted to see how they are first before I get any Aston Villa players in my squad. So no knee jerks, and we'll see how they get on after the World Cup, I think. The Leicester, unbeaten in 3 games as they smashed Wolves 4-0. Absolutely amazing. And guess who was on my bench for that? Ward, the Leicester keeper, was on my bench. 8 points, third clean sheet in a row. Big saves, What an absolute error from me. I know most of you did it as well. I saw a stat by like Fantasy Premier League about it. Most of you had him on your bench, so I wasn't alone in that regards. But I probably won't make that mistake again because Leicester, I think, have turned the corner and are on the up. Not only that, they do have some decent fixtures after the City fixture, who they have next. After City, they've got Everton and West Ham as well. So you might want to put maybe some defenders in your watch list. There's a guy called Fars they got, who's looking really, really good. You've obviously got Castagna, who is a fullback for them, only 4.5 million and 4.8% ownership. He's a cheap differential. He's very quick. He'd got an assist and a clean sheet in that game against Wolves as well. And in midfield, you know about Maddison already. He's about 10% ownership, 8.2 million. So in that kind of mid price, premium, semi-premium price, back from suspension, he scored a great goal as well. But if you want an alternative to him, you have Barnes. He is 6.9. So what is that? 1 point something, almost 2 difference. I'm not good at maths, so don't quote me on that. Yeah, so Barnes is 6.9, only 1.7% ownership. So a crazy differential, and he's returned in 4 out of 5 games. So you know that he has been quality and on form this season, and he's cheaper than Maddison as well. So between those two, Barnes and Maddison, it's a toss up about what you want to do about them. But I wouldn't do it right now. I'd wait at least until the City game is done, and then for the next 2 you can bring them in, and then during that World Cup period where we've got like 2-3 weeks, figure it out after that. But for the short term, I'll definitely look at some Leicester players because they're looking good. And I will be looking at bringing Ward back for Everton, I think, and possibly even against West Ham. Now, finally, buy or sell about these 2 players. I'll let you decide. White, buy or sell? Bowen, buy or sell? I tell you what I'm looking to do. All right, let's start with White. He costs 4.5 million, only 7.5% ownership for FPL managers at the moment. He got his first assist of the season against the draw with Southampton. That game was such a tight game. It was the first draw that Arsenal have had in such a long time. But in general, White's stats are very, very good. He's got 5 clean sheets and he's the 6th highest points among defenders in the Premier League for this season. He is playing a right back, which is so unusual for him. So it can be something that Gareth Southgate might be looking at with the likes of Trent, Trippier, Walker. Who else am I missing from the right back area that are just struggling at the moment, apart from Trippier? The rest are kind of, James, who are struggling at the moment. So Ben White might be an option for right back because he's been doing it for Arsenal. Yeah, he's been doing very, very well for Arsenal. He did come off on the 71st minute. I know there's some injuries, players that are coming back to fitness, like Tomiyasu, Tierney. So there is some tinkering that Arteta is doing. I'm not too worried about that per se, but White is definitely on my list for a buy from Arsenal. Who is a sell, like a most likely sell, is Jarrod Bowen. He costs 8.2 million. That is probably one of the main reasons why I'm looking to shift him. He costs too much to do very little in my team. He's too unpredictable at that price, and from what I saw, even when they played on Monday, he's not the main star in the squad. There's other players around: Benarama, Samaka, Rice. There's another guy that I can't remember his name. That I feel like they're just doing a little bit more, and Bowen is trying a bit too hard. He said he's not on pens anymore after he missed the last pen. So what benefit is there for me to have him in my squad when he costs so much money in the first place? No returns in free. As I said, he wasn't involved in any of the goals in their 2-0 win against Bournemouth on the Monday. Do I keep him to see what he can do in the next 3 games? He's got Man United, Crystal Palace and Leicester. They're kind of like averagey games. I think they're 3 on the fixture difficulty rating. So I'm in a dilemma, but I'm most likely going to sell him if he gets a price drop, because I really don't want to be losing any kind of money on the price I have for him. The replacements, as I've said, we got Maddison, Rodrigo, who scored as well, Almiron, who's on fire. And if you want to save money on him to kind of push money in other premiums, you've got KDB as well. I will stay away from Salah, but yeah, it's KDB is an option as well for Bowen. So that is it. Those are the players I am looking at for game week number 14. I am watching these players so closely, how they're doing in Europe for those that are playing Champions League, what's the other one? Europa League and Europa Conference League. So all those kind of games, I'm watching how those players are performing and seeing if their fitness levels are going to be up to standard for when the Prem comes back at the weekend. There are some key players there that I've mentioned that I will be probably shifting to this week. Possibly Maddison, Dalot, a Everton defender. Almiron is quite high on that list as well. So yeah, there are a few players that I'm looking at that I might be shifting into my team for game week number 14. I've had a bit of a setback for game week number 13, and I need to make up some ground, possibly with some differentials that others aren't looking at just yet, and jumping on them whilst the iron is hot. So let me know what you think in the comments below. As I said already, sign up to my auto mini league down below. There are a few of us in there. Come and join that party in there. We're having a fantastic time. Not me anyway. But yeah, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up. If you like this video, join the FPL Natty crew. I want to see this community really grow, as I've seen other communities grow. Come on, support mine as well. All right, so until the next video, I will see you guys later.